Okay, so I finished building my second Falcon here. It's a one-piece wing model, so it's a good deal lighter. I actually sold the first one to a gentleman in Colorado, so she's out flying in the Rockies now. And I built this one just a few tweaks different than the first one, but took all the cues from the success of the first model as well, setup-wise and everything. But it's turned out awesome. Did need just a little bit of nose weight because I went for a really light build this time because I'm not a monster launcher anyway, and I really like to fly early in the morning like I'm about to. It's about 6 a.m. right now. I'm about to take it out and give it a toss. So I'm flying in light winds a lot. Still have the ballast set. I haven't set that up yet. I'll work on that this weekend, but dry, she came out just a little bit over 212 grams, which is really light. It did need some nose weight though. I went with XO6s this time, a little bit lighter servo set, which is totally fine. But the servo set all around is about 8 grams lighter than the AO8s I put in the last model. And I probably could have got the servo tray just a little bit further forward, but I like it spaced out a little bit like it is, easily accessible, etc. And I tried laying the servos out and stacked in a line this way in a horizontal orientation, but the pulleys I'm using there for the tail surfaces kind of interfere with each other that way. I just didn't I don't like to cram things into planes very much. I know a lot of guys do, and that's cool, but it's just not my thing. So I laid them out normal. I did set the servo tray probably at least a centimeter further forward than the last tray was, but it needed some nose weight. So to balance, being a lighter plane, last plane I started out about 64, 65 millimeter CG for this wing, which is fine for a little bit heavier plane. With being a little bit lighter, I wanted it just a little bit forward at 63, so it took 8.5 grams of lead in the nose there to get it to that, which is fine. So it brings it up to a starting weight of right at 222 grams, which is still a full 20 grams lighter than my first model. So that's cool. And of course, I have the ballast to bring her up to weight if some wind's involved. But starting out a little bit lighter, I did the aluminum foil trick for the nose. So you stick a piece of aluminum foil over the nose here just to kind of get a shape for it. And I melted some lead fishing weights into that to get a slug that was the shape of here. So it's actually it's not much. It's just a little bit of lead, about the first centimeter of the nose in there. And you have to shape it a little bit with I just use a little ball peen hammer and shape the slug a little bit after it comes out, and it works awesome. So that's a good way to get, if you need some starting weight, to get some lead into those. And of course, it's just dropped in there with a few drops of epoxy, so it won't move around. Same programming. I did take some cues from what I learned from the first one as well. Same throws, so 13 millimeters up and down. Worked really well last time. No differential. Landing mode is as prescribed, 30 millimeters of down flap with the corresponding tail drop, of course. I have a 5-point curve that terminates at a 30% down elevator, should be just right. I liked last time, the increased elevator or rudder throw, so I did 15 millimeters each way rudder throw. The normal, as much up as you can do, and then I just did as much down as the servo would allow. The pulleys are kind of a double-edged sword. I do like them. There are a few drawbacks, as in it does limit the travel a little bit more than if you use a little bit longer horn, but on the other hand, it's better for torque since I'm using smaller servos. And there's kind of some built-in differential there, but it does require 100% of the travel to get what you need out of the surface there. But this time the springs, of course, running down the middle is nice, because I won't get any string slap on the on the launch. Last time I had the strings running down the sidewalls of the fuse, and when I would launch the plane even just a little bit harder, the springs would give a nice little slap on the side of the fuselage. The first few times scared the crap out of me because I thought I'd broken the airframe. It sounded like something cracked, but it was just the beadle-on slapping the inside of the fuselage right after release. So hopefully I won't do that this time. The biggest change is the push rods for the ailerons. Last time I did free-floating carbon push rods. Worked fine. But with these lighter servos, I did the prescribed sleeves and 0.8 millimeter music wire that came with the plane. And that's just, as per the build guide, basically. It works great. It's probably couple of grams lighter than doing the floating push rods, and works awesome. Anyway, okay, well, I'm going to take it out to the field now. I'll film that, and you guys have a good weekend.